Hello friends. So, till now we have spent considerable time to discuss about the important aspect of the measurement, okay, that was reliability and validity. We look into what reliability is, what validity is, how to calculate reliability and validity, and before that we look into the different levels of measurement, okay, what is their relation with the statistical analysis. Okay. So, now from today, okay, we will start with that measurement, what is measurement instrument, because by now many times I mentioned that measurement instrument, sometimes I am using the term knowledge test, sometimes I am using the term scale. Okay. So, what these are actually, we will try to learn these particular terms, what they means, okay, and their implication and so on. Okay. So, the first term which we are using, that is the measurement instrument or measure. So, what measure is? Okay. Measure is nothing but, okay, it is generalized term. It used to refer any procedure to obtain data, okay, by rating or ranking in a psychological or related construct. So, it is much broader term, okay, which indicate towards the procedure of that basically arrangement of the items, and then on those items basically by using the rating or ranking we record data which is related to a psychological construct. Okay. Much more specific term is the test and scale, okay. Test, scale, index, that is also there, okay. And there are other related terms also. We will look into all those things in today's discussion. So, before we proceed further, okay. So, now measures or any measuring instrument, okay. So, there are this to designate any measuring instrument, here in this particular PPT we use the term objective, okay. So, measuring instrument like test, scale, index are there, we will come to that, but first to indicate those things I put a term the objective instead of just writing test and scale, okay. So, now the method, why I put the term objective is that, okay, objectivity is very important for an scale or a particular measuring instrument or measuring method, okay. So, now objectivity can be thought in from the two dimension, one is the degree of objectivity and that is the second is from the inference point of view. Degree of objectivity means if a method or if a instrument is objective enough, that means two or more judges, okay, who are using that particular instrument or that particular method, okay, they will assign same numerals, okay. Like maybe I am judging by using a number of statement, okay, I am judging, or maybe I am judging that a particular color, what are the color of a particular set of object, okay. So, if the method is objective, okay, so the instruction will be so clear cut that anyone who are using that particular method, okay, they will arrive in the same numerals or same numbers, okay. So, by using that particular method or instrument, okay. That means the inter-rater agreement will be at highest or maximum, okay. So, now if you think it from the variance term, that means the judgmental variance, okay, that will be close to 0, okay, or that will be minimum, okay. So, that is the one aspect. Second aspect is that, okay, that is from the inferences. Inferences means now after you assigning the numerals to the object or set of object, okay. So, you have to decide or interpret that what is the meaning of this particular numerals which is assigned to that particular object, okay. So, now from that point also there is the scope for the error, that means, okay. So, objectivity also include from the inference side, means anyone who are taking or interpreting the result. So, by using the guide or by using the procedure which is mentioned in the measuring instrument, okay, their inferences from the same set of numbers which is given to a set of object, okay, that will be similar, okay. So, then again there will not be the minimal variances, okay. So, that means all method of the measurement, okay, from starting from the test, scale to the direct observing without using the so called systematic method also. So, all the method of observation are basically inferential, okay. Now, it depending on the methods that how much inference is required, like scales are, if you can be specific, okay. So the scales there is a very less chance of the inference error, okay, but maybe there is a chance for the error from the point of view of the assigning the or using that particular instrument to judge the object, means there may be the inter-rater differences, okay. So depending on the method, okay, so all method have the inferential, okay, always we try to be objective, but it depends on the method how much objective in terms of the assigning numerals or in terms of interpreting them we can be, okay. So now coming back to this the term, the taste and scale we are talking about, okay. So this taste and scale, they are the mostly used method in case of the social sciences for measuring variables, okay. So now what the taste means? So taste means it is a systematic procedure in which individual is tested the presented with a set of constructed stimuli, okay. So and which he or she respond based on the competency, okay. So that means test, it is comprised of a set of question, okay, or in case of the behavioral research we call the stimulus, okay. These stimulus are designed in such a way that individual competency may be tested. That means there is right or wrong answer of this particular statement or question or item, okay, which use the terms interchangeably, okay. Now what is scale then? The scale is, again scale is also it is also a set of the constructed stimuli, okay. So now in case of scale there is two, again it has the two aspect of the defining the scale, okay. So one of the aspect is that a scale is a set of symbols or numbers, okay. So constructed that its symbols and numbers can be assigned to the object or anyone or group of object or to their behavior, okay, to whom this scale is applied, okay. So that is one aspect. So from this particular point of view, okay, so this it's look like the scale is like a set of numerals, okay, or which actually used to or which can quantify different attributes, okay. It is an systematized numbers or systematized process of the or systematized numerals that is assigned to the particular behavior, okay. So that is one aspect of the scale. Second aspect is that the scale basically comprised of a number of items, okay, which are logically as well as empirically structured, okay. Logically and empirically structured means, okay, the item must have the sequence, okay, sequence must have meaning, there is the structural means there are the for deriving or for finalizing those items there are a number of statistical method used, okay, which actually tell that how much weight is this statement or whether all the statements in the scale are equal, like that, okay. So we will come to this particular aspect like weightage, whether the scale are equal or not, okay, these aspect in the later stages, okay. Now so this statement what they do, they measure the intensity of the magnitude of the expression, okay. So now this magnitude of the expression is the systematized numerals, okay. So like if I give the example, like you are designing a scale, okay, that scale may be for again for measuring the attitude of the farmers towards the organic farming, okay. So now your statement may be organic farming will increase the sustainability, environmental sustainability of the farming system, or organic farming will increase the food safety for the wider society, okay. So now so this is the statement and there may be a number of statement in the scale, okay, and each of the statement maybe you decided that will be measured based on the degree of agreement or degree of intensity or magnitude of the expression, like they will strongly agree towards the 7, 9, 10, 12 point scale, okay, depending on the requirement of the study, okay. So that means scale comprised of both of them, a set of statement along with the systematized numerals which are assigned against this particular statement on which the respondent or the object is being measured is rated or respond, okay. Scale is used in the two way in the social research condition. One is the indicate a measuring instrument that is comprised of the statement, and secondly indicate the systematized numerals, okay, of the measuring instrument against the each of this particular item or statement, okay. So that is the two aspect of the scale, okay. So now many times of the students, okay, who are the especially from the social or behavioral science or the agricultural extension or agricultural social science field, okay. So many times, okay, so they may they get confused with another term which is often used interchangeably with the term with the term scale, that is the term index. Okay. So, till now we talk about test, we talk about scale. Now, test and scale are different. Test means there is an aspect of the competency. Okay. What are the other difference? We will come to that particular part when we discuss about test in detail. Okay. Now, scale don't have this requirement of the competency. Okay. Scale is basically there is no wrong or right in the scale. Okay. Many psychological attributes like your maybe performance, maybe achievement. So, those are knowledge, those are measured using the test. Okay. On the other hand, on some many psychological attributes which the people differs in terms of intensity. Okay. So, there we measure in the by using the scale like attitude, opinion. Okay. So, all those things can be used by using the value, okay, that using the scale. Okay. Now, I was telling that sometimes students get confused with the two terms, that is the index, okay, and scale, or what is the difference or whether they are similar. Okay, because by look, especially if you have a scale like Likert scale. So, what Likert scale is or summated rating scale is, we will Likert scale we will discuss again. I will show that also. Okay. So, sometimes we get confused with the Likert scale and index, whether it is a scale and whether it is an index, whom we called index and what should we call scale. So, if you look into the definition of the index, what is the index? Again, it is a composite measure that basically summarizes the multiple related question or statement related to a concept in a more general way. So, one thing is clear now, both the index and the scale, they are comprised of the multiple related question or statement. Okay. So, in case of the index, we use that it summarize all this particular statement or the response to that particular statement in a general way. Okay. On the other hand, scale is much more logical and empirical. Scale have the empirical and logical structure. So, which may be missing in case of the index. Okay. So, in this particular point, okay, I should mention one particular thing, that all scale are basically indices, okay, but not all the index are the scale. Okay. So, all scales are indices, but not all the indexes are scale. Okay. Why it is so? Let us look into or have a look into that. Okay. So, as I already mentioned that sometimes this term index and scale, okay, they are used imprecisely or interchangeably in the social research. Okay. So, both scale and indices, they employ multiple observation, okay, of the item of the measurement. Okay. Now, an index that usually combines observation without concern about their intercorrelation. On the other hand, the index or scale basically evaluates the items in the scale, okay, they have intercorrelation, they are evaluated statistically and logically for their inclusion. Okay. Now, another part of the difference between the scale and which can be differentiated between the scale and index, that is whether the items which are used, items means the statement which are being part of the scale or index, they are cause or effect. We will come to that also. Okay. So, the one of the difference in the scale and index is in terms of what they measure. Okay. Like scale, when it measures something, so it is much more futuristic, in nature. Okay. So, like futuristic measurement of any psychological aspect. Okay. On the other hand, the index are mostly ex post facto in nature. Secondly, when we develop a index, okay, there is no mandatory rules for testing the reliability or validity, but in case of the development of the scale, so you have to check for the reliability and validity of the scale. Okay. Now, what are the other differences and more apparent differences? As I was talking about, that based on the items whether they are cause or effect, okay, you can also differentiate between the index and scale. Okay. So, index, the first thing is that index tends to measure a concept that depends on what is happening in the real world. Okay. Example, you already know, like consumer price index or CPI, okay, that is an example. Okay. So, I was talking about that the nature of the item. Okay. So, if it is an index, so items are basically they are looks like an cause of that particular concept. Okay. And these cause need not to be intercorrelated. So, if they are intercorrelated, then there is a problem of the multicollinearity. Okay. And secondly, that they are compensatory in nature, means the items are such that one indicator or high score in one indicator, that will be compensated by the low score in the other indicator. Okay. So, like if you take the example, okay, like you are trying to measure a concept drunkenness. Okay. So, now how this drunkenness can be caused, what may cause this drunkenness? Okay. It may be the consumption of any particular alcoholic drink can cause the drunkenness. Okay. So, now you need not to require consume all these things together. Okay. If you consume one also, this drunkenness can be caused. Okay. Now, if you try to measure the drunkenness, particular concept drunkenness from this way by designing the indicators in this way, then it looks like and it's act like an index. Okay. So, on the other hand, so scale basically measure a particular construct or mostly concept which are mostly construct, okay, that is latent to the real world. Okay. Means you have to derive or estimate it from the other observation. Like I gave the example of the honesty. You cannot observe or measure directly honesty. Okay. You have to derive its measure from the other certain act, okay, which is performed by your respondent. Okay. But the most important difference is that the items in a scale, they basically act as they are most like an effect. And secondly, they are as they are effect, okay, they are also highly intercorrelated. Okay. So, let us take this clear this particular part with this again the same construct, okay, that is the drunkenness. So, it is like if it is the indicator of if the items of that particular measuring instrument for drunkenness, okay. So, if are like those, okay, that is like effect, like if a particular person is drunk, okay, what may happen, like he cannot walk straight, his speech may be blurred, okay. So, there will be smell of the alcohol also. So, these if a person is the drunk, these all things will happen together, and these are basically looks like an effect of the drunkenness, okay, and these are highly correlated also. Okay. If he cannot, means if there is a more smell of the alcohol, that means he is highly drunk, okay. So, there is a much more chance of the slurring of the speech, okay. So, this is the context where this which differentiate between the index and the scale, and as I already told that item in the scale, they need not to be item on the scale, they are used to be highly correlated, okay. So, they should be loaded onto they should measure that particular construct, that is why they should be correlated, okay. Or another measurement instrument, okay, we sometimes used in the social science or the social behavioral research, okay. We use the term inventory to designate this particular type of measuring instrument. So, what inventory is? Okay. So, inventory is basically it mostly used for measure the personality traits or the vocational tendencies, okay, for instance, okay. So, this like the scale, okay. So, this particular inventory, they does not demand the right answer or correct answer, okay, but the respondent need to mention which option is the more adequate, okay, to characterizing that individual or the respondent with regarding to a specific statement, okay. So, inventory is like that. So, there will be a set of statement, okay. So, you have to mention that which particular statement more describe the respondent or object being measured, okay. So, there is no correct or right or wrong like an test, okay. So, now if you so there are numerous tests in the social and behavioral sciences, okay, there are numerous tests, okay. So, if you try to classify them, okay, so it is sometimes you will feel the practical problem, but in this particular case the Kallinger, he did a quite very good job, okay, by classifying them into certain categories, though these categories is not enough to include all type of scales which are possible in the case of the social or behavioral sciences, okay. The first category which he mentioned, that is the intelligence and aptitude tests. Now, this term intelligence, okay, so I do not think that till now there is any solid definition, okay, that can cover the all aspect of the intelligence, okay, but for our practical use we generally designate it as a operational intellect. In the same way, aptitude means it is the ability for the future achievement, okay. So, now for measuring this intelligence and aptitude, okay, so a number of tests are basically designed, okay, which, so test means there is an requirement for the or there is an aspect of the competency, means there is right and wrong answer, okay. So, those are for measuring this intelligence and aptitude, okay, measuring instrument are generally designed which generally comprised of the omnibus items, or we call these particular items, okay, omnibus measure, okay. So, what is omnibus measure? Means within a same instrument or within a same particular measuring instrument, there will be verbal, numerical, spatials and other type of instrument together. So, it is comprised of all these different type of question, okay. So, these omnibus items or omnibus measures is generally employed to measure this intelligence or aptitude of a particular individual, okay. So, next group of this scale or the broader type of measure is that the achievement test, okay. So, achievement test again, so achievement means it is the proficiency, understanding or mastery in the current or future subject. Okay. So, achievement test again it can be categorized into two broader group, one is the standardized test, another is the specially constructed test. Okay. So, in the standardized test also there are general or special or specific test. Okay. So, standardized test are the those are statistically accurate, or those are designed in the by ensuring the statistical accuracy, and those can be used for measuring the achievement in a larger group of subject. Okay. So, now it may be general, okay, which generally measure the achievement on the area like the culture, art, okay, language, etc. Whereas in case of the special test, okay, those are designed to measure the achievement to a particular subject, like maybe in mathematical ability, maybe the history. Okay. So, on the other hand, specially constructed achievement test, those are, if you can equate it with the teacher made classroom test. Okay. So, those are basically devised for the classroom situation, and those are specially constructed for this particular only that particular instances. Okay. So, the next group of measures which can be the various scale and test can be put, okay, that is your personality measures. Okay. Now, like the term intelligence, the personality term is also the very broad. Okay. So, how we can define personality? So, one of the ways the defining personality is by the organization of the traits. Okay. So, organization of the traits of an individual. Okay. So, what is traits? The trait are the characteristics of the individual, okay, which generally expressed through the recurring behavior. Okay. So, it is recurring in nature, okay, and it is expressed in the every situation he faces. Okay. So, how these traits are organized. Okay. So, personality measures are devised based on that, but again the human personality is the one of the most complex construct ever possible. Okay. So, designing a particular test for the personality is not an easy one. Okay. So, the now personality measures can be classified as a priori measure and theoretical measure. Okay. So, we will come in detail of this also. Okay. So, there is other group of measure which is known as the attitude scale. Okay. So, attitude scale is the most well known measure among all the psychological construct. Okay. So, why it is, we will come to that. Okay. So, there are another group of measure which are known as the value scale. Okay. So, apart from the value scale, there are the other miscellaneous objective measures are also possible. Okay. Now, coming to this, we are talking about the personality measures. So, coming to the personality measure, as I told that most complex measurement problem in the psychological measurement is the personality, and one of the problem in constructing these measures is the problem of the validity, because the personality has the many dimension. Okay. It comprised of everything what you can deduce about an individual. Okay. So, there are two approaches for devising scale or measure for estimating personality. Okay. So, we called a priori method and construct or theoretical method. Okay. So, what we do in the priori method? So, priori method is like you collect the items, okay, you selected a traits, okay. So, and you collect the item which represent that particular test. Okay. So, that means in this priori method, items are constructed to reflect the personality dimension. Okay. And how generally we do that? We generally follow or we generally utilize the known group method, okay, for the validation of this particular personality scale or personality measures. Okay. On the other hand, there are construct method or which basically emphasized on the relation between the variables. Okay. So, it is type of the hypothesis testing. Okay. So, based on the relation of between the variables or hypothesis testing of the relation among the variables, okay, we try to devise the measure by taking into consideration the theory from which these hypotheses are generally deduced. Okay. So, that means you can compare it with that one is basically like the validity of this group of measure is tested by using the known group method, and the second particular type of personality measures, the validity of which basically tested by using the hypothesis testing, okay, by specifying the construct which are basically responsible for change in that or for variation in that particular psychological trait. Okay. So, again then come to the attitude scale, as I already told that one of the mostly used or most famous type of measure in case of social psychological scale as well as scaling technique development is the attitude scale, because a number of scaling technique for measuring, which now can be used for the measuring any particular psychological concept that was initially developed for the measuring the attitude itself. Okay. So, now attitude and trait have a differences. So, I just define trait like that, it is the recurring behavior. On the other hand, the attitude is basically the that how it is how it is a predisposition, okay, towards the different cognitive object. Okay. So, how they are different? In case of the trait, that is much more stable, means if a particular person has a trait of the hostility, okay, so he will be hostile, okay, in every situation. Like attitude, in case of attitude, if a person has a certain negative feelings toward a particular group, okay, so his hostile behavior only visible when he encountered that particular group only. Okay. So, that is the differences. So, when it come to the trait, it is much more stable and much more it is not prone to change, okay, when you compare it with the attitude. So, in the measurement of the attitude, there are broadly three type of scaling technique are there broad. Okay. So, it is known as the summated rating scaling technique, equal appearing interval scaling technique and cumulative scaling technique, but that is not the exhaustive list. Okay. But those are the most famous and mostly used method of the this constructing scale for measuring attitude. Okay. So, next particular group of the psychological measure, okay, that falls under the value scale. Okay. So, value is on the other hand, value means our preference about the things, idea, people, institution or behavior, means what is morally right or what is the moral behavior or approved behavioral pattern. Okay. So, there are a number of there is very less number of scale to actually or measures, okay, which actually tried to measure value, because again because of this moral aspect. Okay. So, it is not easier also to develop the measuring instrument, okay, for value, but there are examples that when the particular researcher tried to develop the value scale, measure the value of particular group. Okay. So, apart from that, there are miscellaneous objective measures are available, like there are scale which is known as D scale. Okay. D scale means basically dogmatism scale. Okay. So, there are scale like which are used to measure authority or authoritarian rules, okay, which is it is known as the F scale or fascism scale. Okay. So, there are scale for the, again one concept in the psychology or sociology is the ethnocentrism, means how much we think our culture is the better than others. Okay. So, there are scale for or known as the E scale, which is basically measure the ethnocentrism among the group of people. Okay. So, you may find out, you will find out lot of scale for the all the psychological or sociological traits you know about. Okay. And the author or the researcher used a number of different methods. Okay. Sometimes it is the summated rating method I just talk about, sometimes it is the equal appearing interval method, there are paired comparison method, there are successive interval rating method. Okay. So, all these methods they used or new method designed or devised every day, being devised every day for developing the scale for measuring the psychological attributes. Okay. So, now coming to the last part of this lecture, that is the types of objects and scales, okay, or types of items which are included into the scales. Okay. So, you can classify them broadly as an independent and fourth choice item. Okay. So, also you can, if you leave this particular type of classification apart, okay, there are way, okay, to way to differentiate between them, like agreement, disagreement item, rank order item, fourth choice item. So, this classification, okay, this independent and fourth choice or dependent item, that is one classification, agreement, disagreement, rank order, fourth choice, again that is one classification, but there is also the overlapping, these are not mutually exclusive. Okay. So, we will look into what this type of items means. Okay. So, one side there are two broad type of items can be used in your measuring instrument or the scale, okay, that is we call the independent and non-independent item. Independent item simply means that a person's response in a particular item, means statement, is not related with this response to the another item. Okay. So, like I was using the example of the farmer's attitude towards the farm bill. Okay. So, one statement may be like that the farmer bill will transform the livelihood of the farmer towards the achieving the doubling farmer income. Okay. So, that is one statement. On the other hand, another statement may be to measure the attitude, maybe the farm bill will stop the exploitation of the farmers by the middleman. Okay. So, now how you answer the first item, that does not, if you think logically, okay, that does not have any effect on this particular second response. Okay. I may be totally agree with that it will, or I am totally agree with that it will somehow reduce the exploitation of the farmer by middleman. But I may or may not agree with the first statement, that is that it will actually help to achieve the doubling farmer income target. Okay. So, these type of items are basically independent items. Okay. So, now the independence items has the number of advantages. Okay. Apart from the advantage of the economy, okay, so the most important advantage is that it is all the statistical measure can be used against the independent type of item, because most of the statistical measure they require the fulfillment of the assumption of the independence of the for using those particular analysis. Okay. Second, each of the item generally contribute toward the variance. So, if a particular person, okay, he or she responds to the each of these item, so there is a better variance contribution. Okay. So, in case of the social and psychological research or any biological research, our ultimate purpose is to detect the trend in terms of variation, in terms of this central tendency like that. Okay. So, in that way, okay, you will find out the better effect of the independent variable. Okay. And also this type of independent items, or in the scale which comprised of the independent items, they are very easy to make, and they generally take very less time to administer. But on the other hand, you have to remember that has the serious problem with this type of independent item. Okay. So, we call them the bias, we call them the response set bias, means people have the tendency to respond to the only one part of the scale. Okay. So, these independent items are prone to the response set bias along with the social desirability bias. Okay. If you are designing a statement which are socially desirable in nature, then there is always a chance for the agreement response. Okay. So, despite of what the actual fact is, or if you leave apart the actual fact also, if the item is or if the question is socially desirable in nature, so answer will be always positive. Okay. So, these things you have to keep into the mind. Second type of item are the dependent item. Okay. So, non-dependent item or dependent item is known as the forced choice item. Okay. So, basically it forced the respondent to choose one item instead of the alternative. Okay. So, once you choose the one item, you cannot choose from the different or the next one. Like it is possible, like you have to choose between the two particular object. So, once you choose a particular object, okay, which will be the part of the measurement of the construct. Okay. So, the chance for the selection of the next object basically come to 0. Okay. So, but this forced choice item, okay, like you are using ranking. Okay. So, you have to rank a number of stimuli based on their suitability to the, like you are trying to look into the, or you are trying to finding out the seriousness of the constants in a particular agricultural situation. Okay. So, now you want the respondent to rank that particular constants based on their seriousness in their situation. So, once a particular constants get the rank of the 1, that means the next particular constants he will never get the rank of the 1. Okay. So, in this way, so rank type item is also an example of the forced choice item or the non-independent item. Okay. So, what are the advantage of the non-independent item? So, first thing is that it basically reduce the chance of the item desirability bias, or it reduce the chance of the response set bias. But on the other hand, okay, so on the other hand, the forced choice item or non-independent item, they are not prone to the all type of statistical analysis. Okay, because most of the statistical measure they basically assume the interdependent or independence of the observation. Okay. So, now the items in a particular scale can also be classified as this agreement disagreement item, rank order item, or forced choice item. Okay. So, in case of agreement and disagreement item, okay, the respondent is provided with a set of the answer or option. Okay. So, like you all of you have in any stage of your life, okay, had go through the competitive exam. Okay. So, competitive exam generally there will be one question, there will be 4 response. Okay. So, from the 4 you have to choose one. So, that is the example of the agreement disagreement item. Now, depending on the number of choices given to the respondent, it may be respondent have to choose one of the 2, okay, it may be one of the 3 or more, or it may be 2 or more from a number of option, or okay, it is more than 1 from a number of option. Okay. So, you have to select, there may be 2 or 3 more than 1 right answer. Okay. So, that is the 3 general form of the agreement disagreement item. Second part is the rank order or ordinal item. Okay. So, those where you need to arrange a group of stimuli on the basis of their importance or seriousness, like just the example of the consequence I was talking about. Okay. So, rank order items, these are much more simpler to use, okay, but the problem is that with the statistical analysis, a less number of statistical analysis can be done on this rank order item, because these are basically again non-dependent or not independent item. So, next group is the fourth choice item. Okay, so, fourth choice item, okay, example of the fourth choice are the paired comparison I was talking about. Okay, so, you have to between the two, one positive and one negative trait, you have to for which can be assigned to a particular person, or which can be assigned to express the personality of a particular person, you have to choose one. Okay, so, this is the fourth choice item. Generally, the fourth choice item, okay, the response rate is much lower than in case of the your independent item, but the fourth choice item has a lesser chance for the your social desirability or response set bias. Generally, the respondent, okay, feel little bit difficult to answer against the fourth choice item. So, one special type of fourth choice item is the tetrad. Okay. So, what tetrad is? So, tetrad is basically consist of two pair of item. So, a pair is high in this preference value, on the other pair will be the low in the preference value. Now, one member of each of the pair will act as a discriminator, that means valid item, and another one is an irrelevant, that is not valid item. Okay. Like it will be clear if you take the example, like I can ask that choose one or two items that most important for a teacher to have. Okay. So, the items are like that, the conscientiousness, agreeableness, responsive and sensitive. Okay. So, now one of the item like conscientiousness, that is the high in the preference value, but they are not valid. Okay. They are irrelevant. Okay. On the other hand, the sensitive, okay, that is again the high in the preference value, and that is discriminator. Okay. So, in the case of the agreeable and responsiveness, one is irrelevant and another again is the valid or discriminator. Okay. Now, he have to choose from so the respondent has to choose the best preferred and least preferred trait from this particular 4 number of the options. Okay. So, now if he choose wrong, or if there is an item desirability and this response set bias, okay, so that will be easily detected, because this particular combination of this particular discriminator and the invalid items are basically that shuffled, okay, between the different type of the question. Okay. So, another okay, we will conclude the today's lecture with by defining the another particular aspect or another statistical characteristics of the item, which is or the items which are the part of an measure that we call the ipsative and the normative measure. Okay. It is simply equivalent to the independent and dependent type of item we are talking about. Okay. So, ipsative measures are those particular values or those particular numbers in the scale, okay, which generally we obtain from the using of the test and scale. Okay. And as these are, I already told, these are basically independent type, that means they are less affected by the measures or measures of the other items, and they are basically for the interpretation purpose, they are referred to the mean of the measure of a group. Okay. On the other hand, the ipsative items, those are basically affected, systematically affected by the other measures. Okay. Like the example I was giving, like paired comparison, okay, all the fourth choice items, they basically fall under they generally fall under the ipsative measures. Okay. So, this assumption of the independence is generally violated here. Okay. And that is why all the statistical methods cannot be used. Okay. And they, for the interpretation purpose, they are measured to they refer to the same mean. Okay. And each individual set of measure generally have the same mean or SD, where in case of the normative measure, each individual set of measure having different mean and standard deviation. Okay. So, for practical purpose, you can equate it with the measure which is obtained from the independent item and the measure which obtained from the dependent item. Okay. So, these are the different type of test and scale which are used in the social or the behavioral researches, and the characteristics of the attributes of the items which are generally included, or question or statement which are generally included within the particular for constructing those test and scale. Okay. In subsequent classes, we will also have detailed discussion about what are the different tests which are used. I told that one of the mostly used test is the attitude scale is the attitude scale. We will also have a discussion on those particular part. We will look into a popular type of test, that is the knowledge test. Okay. So, with this we will conclude today's lecture. As always, further knowledge or for more in depth reading, you can always refer to this particular textbook. Okay. And we will conclude our lecture with this. Thank you.